Welcome to day 4 of finding your way through the wilderness. You will be my treasured possession. You will be for me a kingdom of priests, a holy nation. Exodus 19:5. The 10 Commandments. You may have heard of me this week. Hello there, I'm Moses, and God chose me to do something very special for him. And here's the truth. I wouldn't have been able to do any of those things if it hadn't been for him. I had no idea how to get Pharaoh to talk to me, how to get Pharaoh to listen to me. I felt lost and helpless, and I told God so. And you know what he said?
Moses, don't worry about a thing. I will show you what to do. I'll lead you.
Who can argue with that? So, how could I say no? I kept these words in my mind. When you feel lost, God leads. Have you enjoyed these last few days, learning about our escape from Pharaoh and our escape from captivity and our wanderings in the wilderness? Crazy, isn't it? It's hard to believe that just 3 months ago, we were still slaves in Egypt. Our captivity is finally over. We know we're no longer in danger of Pharaoh's army forcing us back to Egypt, and we're ready for God's commandments. But because this story is so especially important, let's see how great God is. Let's see what you remember so far. What did Pharaoh say when I asked him to let my people, the Hebrews, go into the wilderness to worship God and offer sacrifices? That's right, no.
No way, Moses!
And what did God do each time Pharaoh put his foot down and said, no? You've got it. He sent plagues. Can you remember how many plagues he sent? That's right, 10. 10 life-threatening, amazing, disgusting plagues. But Pharaoh didn't care about his people. He didn't care about his country. All he cared about was his pride and winning this battle against me. But what Pharaoh didn't know was I had God in my corner. And when I was tearing my hair out and wondering how far all this was going to go, I told myself, when you feel lost,
God leads.
And I let God do his thing.
No way, Moses!
And bam, bloody river, fish dying, smelly,
No way,
gross.
Moses!
Frogs everywhere, not cute, on my plate, in my bed, leaping on the walls, and in my cupboards.
No way, Moses!
Millions of gnats that buzzed up my nose and in my mouth and in my ears and my sandals, tickling my toes.
No way, Moses!
And the flies that got in their eyes. We didn't get flies or the livestock disease in Goshen, remember? God set Goshen apart. He drew a line.
No way, Moses!
And all I had to do was throw ashes in the air and there were boils that festered. The hail only hammered the Egyptians, but the locusts, oh, the locusts, clouds of them covering everywhere, the whole land destroying everything that was left in our fields. It was devastating. Surely, I thought, Pharaoh would say, okay, you win, Moses. When you feel lost, God
leads.
But no, a darkness covered the land for 3 days. Only Goshen saw the light. And still,
No way, Moses!
until that final blow, the angel of death to kill all the firstborn. Egypt wailed, and Pharaoh sent for me that night and said,
Go away, Moses! Never come back. Take everything with you, but also bless me.
Me and 600,000 men took our families and livestock into the desert and followed God in a pillar of cloud by day and fire by night. When you feel lost,
God leads.
leads. And sometime later, we found ourselves at the beach. But this was no vacation, no barbecues and swimming for us. Pharaoh had lied again. His army was in hot pursuit, and we had to cross that sea fast. I had a headache by now, and from all the shouting and the complaining and blaming, but God kept me calm. He had me hold out my staff across the sea, and lo and behold, it parted, and we walked through a dry pathway to the other side. The Egyptians followed us in their chariots, and you know what happened. They got stuck in the mud, and when I raised my staff again, the sea went back to being a sea and swallowed them up and drowned every single Egyptian. When you feel lost,
God leads.
And God has led us here. We're encamped at the foot of Mount Sinai, and God and I are going to talk. I'm getting quite used to that.
Moses, Moses, come up to me.
I could hear God calling from the mountain. He told me I was to tell everyone that we are to keep his covenant. That's a promise. And when we do, we will be his most special possession in the whole wide world, a holy nation. I came back down the mountain and I told the people this, and they agreed to obey God. They cheered when I told them about being a holy nation, a treasured possession. When you feel lost, God leads. I have to go up the mountain in 3 days for more instructions. In the meantime, we're to wash our clothes and bathe ourselves and make sure nobody goes near the mountain, not even our livestock, otherwise we will die. God is going to talk to me so that you can hear, I said to the Hebrews. That way you will know that God is really talking to me. They trembled. They sighed. And today is the 3rd day. And there's mountain and thunder up there in the mountains. I heard a horn blast, and I took all the people to the foot of Mount Sinai, which was now covered in smoke. I knew the Lord had descended upon it because I saw the fire and I saw the smoke going up as if from a furnace, and the whole mountain shook violently. And I have to admit, I shook pretty violently too. I went up and spoke to God, and he answered me in a voice, and everyone heard. And this is what he said. I am the Lord your God, who brought you up from the land of Egypt, from the house of slavery, and you shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourselves a carved image and worship it. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Remember to set the Sabbath day apart as holy. Honor your father and your mother. You shall not murder. You shall be faithful in marriage. You shall not steal. You shall not tell lies about others. And you shall not want anything that belongs to someone else. By the time God had finished his commands, all the people were flat on their faces at the bottom of the mountain, trembling. They were shaking so badly, they were terrified. I have to admit, I was a little bit shaky too.
We didn't want God speaking to us. We wanted him to speak through you.
And I said, God has done this so that you may fear him and not sin. When you feel lost, God leads. And that, my friends, is the end of my story about God's promise to the Hebrews, how they became his treasured possession, a holy nation. His 10 commandments are instructions of how to live a happy and meaningful life. And when you forget and go astray, you must go back to the commandments, remember his promise, and remember that you are also his treasured possession, and he will lead you. Now, we're off to the land flowing with milk and honey. You will be my treasured possession. You will be for me a kingdom of priests, a holy nation. Exodus 19:5. Goodbye, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful week finding your way with us in the wilderness.